Greetings and g'day everybody. Anthony Mars Jr. on PRLostGalaxy2014. This is not the Terra Venture podcast. This is something I haven't did in a long time since my last video response within actually 2 years. So I present you my first time in a long time such video response presented by PRLostGalaxy2014's Facebook page, my Instagram, hashtag Anthony Mars Jr., hashtag PRLostGalaxy2014, and my Morphin Megaverse Power Rangers Facebook group. Haven't seen any of them? Check them out now. Well, I haven't did a video response in over 2 years. Last I can recall was when I cussed out Justin Garrett because he didn't like the fact that I was, such and such, called me the F word that referred to homosexuality, such as, in other words, I hate to say, but I'm not going to repeat it because I already know what that means, because I've heard that word fly around whenever you call someone out by their sexuality and such like that. But anyway, that's 2 years ago. This is 2016. Remember, I know everybody has saw, of the 1,000 people that had watched my last response to Linkara on his History of Power Rangers on Power Rangers Megaforce and Super Megaforce around Christmas holiday, when at the time, just less than a week as soon as I moved into my new apartment. And I looked back in my Megaforce response video to Linkara and I felt, I don't know. Well, look, I understand my stress was, my stress level was very extreme. My face and body was all heated up. My heart was about to pound, like as if I was about to have a heart attack. I felt like I was about to die. I felt like it was the end of the world for me. But frankly, it's just those urges and feelings that be going on in my body nervously, because I know losing my father was the biggest culprit, and knowing that it happened and knowing that I had to let it go. It was hard for me to let it go because I didn't want to linger on within 6 months, particularly due to the fact that that's what caused me to go through a very major change and stage in life. So that's why I talked about it throughout a little bit a little bit for the beginning of the year. Now, I have a video response from a YouTuber who somehow doesn't really watch most of my content, but I understand his purpose why. He watched a few of my videos, but never really watched all of my other ones. Well, that's okay, but I know you doesn't really care to subscribe or watch all my videos a lot, because I tend to have a tendency to hesitate on certain topics. I do have a video response from TJS24000, or in other words, TJS24000Revived. Either way around, but I know I got the username wrong. And I've seen his avatar a bunch of times, and I know I've seen him on YouTube, but well, I understand he can cater to those who do better professional rambles and such about Power Rangers than I do, because I tend to hesitate on certain things, certain topics. In terms of that, I really wanted to look, actually it's Scisgs, I think, Scisgs, pretty much, I guess. His response to me on PRLostGalaxy2014. Now, we know over 2 years ago, Rick the barkeep over at the Onyx Tavern had did a video response about me. Actually, yeah, to come to think of it, 2 years ago, I remember when Rick on the Onyx Tavern saw my video about thinking, when he did his video response about, is the Onyx Tavern terminated? But he did give me a video response about him liking Power Rangers Lost Galaxy. But I'm going to do a video response to the person who talked a crap about me gravitating to Lost Galaxy throughout the comment section on my Linkara's History of Power Rangers RPM review response video after this one is up. And Scisgs, his response to me, I watched, it's 19 minutes. If you guys saw his video response to me, I know some of you guys barely had anything to say about regarding me and what my condition was. Here's an update, Scisgs. I am quite fine for now. I'm okay. It's just I just needed to take it slow on what I got to do for 2016 compared to the previous 3 years of being on my Power Rangers devoted YouTube channel. And I watched his response video about me, and he made some points regarding me and regarding my reputation on the channel and such as a whole. And of course, regarding what I said about all the things I was saying in my response video to Linkara's history of Power Rangers on Super Megaforce, let's just go by that definition. He did bring up points of what I was saying in the video and regarding what was my situation. Because you see, look, 2015, I have to be honest, and if any of you see my year in review video about how my 2015 went, I know most of you guys didn't see that video, but it's still up there, but it's just not much people talked about it. Talked about or made comments how my 2015 went from when it was okay until the summer, until September when I turned 23 years old. And then a couple of days after that, my father was dying, and he was, his excessive alcoholism and then heart attack. And then a couple of days after that, then this restraining order from someone I knew came around, and then financial issues with rent, and then going multiple times to Toys R Us and places, buying toys, and then had my other remaining family members, including my brother and such, complaining, moping and nagging about, actually being overly concerned why was I spending my money on toys than my needs, than my wants. And then the moving process from the house I used to live in for the longest time, for anyone who doesn't know about me, that I've lived in for 15 years since 2000, and I was 8 years old at the time. And, I've lived in the house I was living in doing the videos I was doing prior to the moving. I've been in that house for 15 years. And due to the fact that my father's name was on the lease to that house until his death last year, there was no obligations or opportunities for me and my brother to stay in that house, so we moved to the apartment I'm in right now. So yeah, about your response video about me regarding my response on Linkara's history of Power Rangers on Megaforce, my friend, I know it was unnecessary. I was just going out of control. I felt like it was the end of me before I knew it, because I couldn't put up with the stress. And the holiday season at that is stressful. I feel like when I'm at the age of 23 now, it's like this is a sign that I seriously need to grow up. Stop doing kid stuff, because when you don't have a father or a mother, or mostly the father, because fathers are more significant to a child or two or more than as for the mother. But you see, I was going through some really deep grievance, and I was going through some very financial difficulties, and going through adjustment disorder, where of course in adjustment disorder you lose friends and family from accidents, illnesses, or whatever, or certain random cases of death, like alcoholism or diabetes, or something even catastrophic like car accidents, or people getting involved in horrible storm epidemics and storm let me slow that down about that, and storms, and like hurricanes, and when a hurricane hits your home state of the country of the US of A, or something like that, or if you had a family member or two or more that had a trip somewhere and then a terrorist attack struck, then one of them would have survived, some of them might have died, or so forth. Yeah, some stuff like that. And then of course other things of cases of adjustment disorder, in case you've looked that up, in terms of mental health and other things like that. I just don't know what made out of me when I said all that stuff I said, because maybe it was because, well, after refusing to admit for the last 2.5 years about Power Rangers Megaforce being the worst of Power Rangers, then, well, I know Samurai is my most hated season. Now all of a sudden, now I got to open up to how much hate Megaforce got. And you know it's been 3 years since it began. Super Megaforce was just 2 years ago. And it's not so long ago since Super Megaforce came and left, and everybody was left disappointed because we thought it was going to be, and that Super Megaforce was supposed to be our most important anniversary season of Power Rangers, because the franchise at this point 2 decades, and now as of Dino Charge's somewhat 15th episode, 16th episode, 800 episodes of Power Rangers, and still going. I just really wanted to open up why the hell did I even like Megaforce. I mean, well, look, in some of my earlier videos, if you look back at them from 2013, some of my videos I made in 2013, you can tell from the tone of my voice in those videos, I had positive feelings about Megaforce. But now, as years went by, and after hearing people like, of course, John from Mr. Weenie Productions, Rick of Neonix Tavern, and many other people on YouTube and such related, regarding their passion and such of Power Rangers, they hate Megaforce deeply because we know the season was horribly acted, rushed writing, and not to mention it went under Mystic Force's approach of schizophrenic production, production run, and that's why I sort of kind of wanted to compare Megaforce somewhat with Mystic Force. Now, albeit sooner or later this year, I will do a series retrospective on Power Rangers Mystic Force and give you my thoughts of how I feel about it 10 years later, aside from my upcoming series retrospectives on Power Rangers Time Force for its 15th anniversary, and Power Rangers Zeo for its 20th. And I wanted to talk about what he said about in my video, and also regarding myself he told me that I needed to take a break, and I did. I didn't start no new videos. Came the new year, I started making new videos for my channel's 4th season since January 10th. I recorded some videos ahead of time because I was still on break, because I needed to calm down. And of course, even still to this point, money struggles and everything is still a pain to my ass and everything. And then also having one or two of my family members whose names I will not mention because you don't know them, complaining, why am I still, about me spending my money on toys, and you're thinking that once when I get money, I'm going to go to Toys R Us or GameStop buying whatever. And I was like, okay. And of course, about the whole bothersome thing about me buying toys thing. I said this many times, especially in my recent videos, and regarding toys for Dino Supercharged and the Legacy line from my last podcast about Power Ranger toys that are coming out, from, that we had from this past weekend about, from the New York Toy Fair. That, of course, with toys like the Legacy Black and Gold Dragon Zord, the Legacy Communicator and such, and whatever Dino Supercharged stuff coming out, this year and such. I had to explain that all over and over. I know that's repetitive of me repeating that point, and I think people have already got the memo. And I know I have this bad tendency of repeating statements I've already said before, because it feels like whenever I repeat a statement or what I've already said from one video after another, it feels like I'm repeating myself. And I think that's something I need to work on starting this year and beyond, possibly, regarding how long I'm going to still do this. Then also he did bring up a point about me with, like I've stated many times, if anyone was watching my videos, and regardless the zero amount of comments, but yet likes and dislikes and views and whatever, about me using profanity in videos. And he made a point that and of course regarding on the topic, regarding on what subjects I bring up, including Power Rangers, it's just people, I've said this before, people are just, whenever I cuss, not many people, don't like it when I cuss, because they are, how I put it this way, uncomfortable. And like what he said is uncomfortable for some, because they just don't feel it's just not right. Because there are some people in this world who think profanity is a bad thing, but actually, well, I just gotta watch what I say. And of course, and it's just, I have to find out who my target audience is when it comes to profanity. And he did bring up the Nostalgia Critic in the video, and like what he did about his when Nostalgia Critic recently, not so long ago, just a couple of months ago, like around Halloween and of last year when he released his Hocus Pocus review. I'm not going to repeat that statement, and he was right about that. And well, unfortunately, I did wanted to make an oath this year not to do much cussing in my videos because then all of a sudden somebody of the random who somehow just watched my video out of random to find that I've been cussing and swearing and saying that you shouldn't be cussing like that because that ruins the video. And Power Rangers, it's a kid show, you can't be using profanity around it. Because how if kids who watches your channel because you got Power Ranger stuff revolved around it, and then you go around using such language, and then the kids will be like screaming and then saying, "Mommy, this guy on this video is cussing about Power Rangers and stuff like that." I was like, yeah, but I understand that I had to change my error of ways starting this month actually, because 6 months after the catastrophe of the passing of my father, Anthony Marr Sr., but I had to I needed to shrug off the feelings of grief and knowing that I needed to accept the fact that he's gone and there will never be anyone that will be like my father or ever like my mother. And as much as I've always catered to multiple people who I see every day or every once in a while and think that they can be like a mother and father figure to me, regardless, that nobody can ever replace my parents. And that's the fact. Because when both your parents are gone, you're just even regardless if you're an 18-year-old teenager or in your 20s and beyond, you're on your own now. You got to raise your own family and everything else, and pay off debts and and all kinds of things in life. Because it's just, maybe it was because I really I have to admit, Scisgs, I really how do you pronounce your name? I know I'm really bad with some names and usernames by the way how they're typed out and pronounced. As much as everybody can get my username PRLostGalaxy2014 and such right, because it's obvious that my channel is inspired and devoted to, of course, Power Rangers Lost Galaxy, which albeit is one of my all-time favorite Power Ranger seasons following Power Rangers in Space and Zeo and the original Mighty Morphin seasons, and in many seasons that to brag on about. But anyway, but you get that idea. He did bring up about the whole me that I don't have to buy the toys and everything like that. Yeah, I've said this before, and I feel that in my newer videos now, following Dino Supercharge's debut right now, and in continuous airings until at the end of the year, and then Jew-Oger coming out. But actually, Jew-Oger already out and airing, and well, I feel that's why I said let me get this straight here. I did say that I was not going to buy not many toys, or well, actually he said I don't have to buy the toys. It's okay, well, unless if I'm a fan. Well, yeah, because even regards, and then I said, well, yeah, I did say that because I had enough with everyone, well, around my family circle right now, nagging me why I've been buying so many toys. Then what I supposed to spend my money on that's more important to be more mature. Going, because you see, the thing about me spending money, I know I can spend money like a wild goose, and when you don't spend money wisely, then you start going through, of course, money anxiety, and that's what I've been going through lately. Even after Christmas, after the Christmas holiday, I was going through money anxiety. Even before the Christmas holiday, and then sometime around Thanksgiving, I was going through money anxiety problems. It seems like whenever I try to gain money, to try to buy some good stuff for Christmas, because, well, actually, the reason why I haven't had that much money, especially have a great Christmas. We see, my father's funeral was his funeral costed a lot. I did attend my father's funeral. There is a YouTube video that I posted, part of my vlogs from last year. Well, actually, that was the last vlog I posted last year, because I just didn't want to go any further after that, because I was still going through anxiety and depression and stress and pain and fatigue and all kinds of things related to the events that transpired, because it was hard for me to shrug off the loss of a family member. I have never had this much emotion of losing somebody in my family this dear and close to me since my mother. But my father, as much as I've had a love and hate thing for him, and regardless that he loved me and my brother, but it's just the reason why I had some hateful feelings for him was because the way how he had been for the last 13 years. Actually, maybe it was because around the time when I was turning 13 over 10 years ago, and of course, when I transferred from one middle school to another and so forth, I got very worse with myself, and knowing that there's nothing I can change. There's nothing I can change that nowadays, because whatever has transpired in the past cannot be fixed or changed here in the present nor the future. So, again, I can't change what happened long before, or even up of recent, because once something has transpired by event after event, it stays. And then of course, as time comes, you have to prevent these mistakes and stuff from happening again. And of course, there are dire consequences from that stuff, and that's what happened. And then of course, what I was saying about him and calling him out, what I said. Even if you have saw my 2015 year in review video, I know it's an hour and 4 some minutes long, but I've repeated that same repeated statement there, but I'm not going to repeat it here. But the things I was saying about him, and then caused him to go through a heart attack, caused him to have heart attack. Because you see, like I said in that video, people who, because you see, my father was an alcoholic for over 20 years. And, well, actually, his alcoholism started to get a little worse over, as of this year, 15 years. Well, if he was still with me, it would have been 15 years. 15 years after my mother passed away from breast cancer. And of course, he had stayed within 14 years of depression since. And ever since watching him go through all of this, that's what caused me to go through depression. But I can't, you can't let that get to me and get those emotions to slide on me. And then it's like I'm going to spend the next 14 years of my life within the future, and then end up in the same fate he did. And then, but except the difference is I'm not an alcoholic. I never drunk or anything. I never did drugs. So good thing for me. But it's just when he was going through all of that, he was just going through some personal pain. No wonder he was so late on payments for rent or whatever, and buying as much food as he could for me and my brother to provide for us. Well, knowing that he was the only parent I had at the time, but I'll never have those memories with him, regardless of his issues and his problems and his actions. So there was nothing I could do for that, and there was nothing I could change that, or nothing to prevent events like what he went through and caused him to pass away to ever happen. And then when he passed away, that's when I started to, act like I was responsible for his problems, because his alcoholism. But enough of that. And then of course, it's just then that restraining order. Yeah, well, I don't even want to worry about it anymore. But once this month, the next month comes, it will be over. And actually, I had long stopped thinking about it, but it's just that's one of the few culprits that caused me to go transpire. In other words, spiral out of control for within these last 5 going on 6 months. And of course, there was another, the one crazy thing that was happening to me, because you see, when you first, start having anxiety, actually I was going through grief response, multiple times, and then also going through doctor's office, doctor's appointment, like one being about me having hepatitis, and then also having constipation and stuff like that. Thinking, am I going to die? Because when I heard of hepatitis, I was like, people can die from hepatitis unless if you had unprotected sex or had excessive, drug use or drinking. But I have never did none of that stuff. And when I went to my doctors the next day, I know I had, one day before that, the one doctor told me I have hepatitis. Like, am I going to die or whatever? But that shit was scaring me. But and of course, when I called the hospital 3 times, and I know I had a jackass, paramedic. It was a guy, and he was bald headed and Caucasian, and he was excuse me for saying that, but he was a jackass, telling me that if you have hepatitis B, blah blah blah. And I wanted to say something to him when I was anxiously screaming and yelling, and I was losing my cool. But there, I really was going crazy, and I felt like I was dying because of course, hepatitis is a scary illness akin to leukemia, cancer, and stuff like that. But of course, and anyway, then the next day when I went back to the doctors again, the other doctor, the second doctor I went to, told me I just have the antibodies of hepatitis. So therefore, because I already had the vaccine since I was very young, so I don't know why the first doctor I went to said I have hepatitis, I actually have the disease, when the other doctor told me I just have the antibodies. I mean, I long had the vaccination for hepatitis, so there is no point for me to have engage in certain things that cause hepatitis, like alcoholism or excessive drug use or even unprotected sex, or eating foods that people are put their hands and stuff on and get the germs that cause it to contract with my liver and everything, and stomach and intestines, and cause me to die and get sick. So yeah, and then of course, going in and out of the hospital was one thing over 5 months ago, and I, because my anxiety, my blood pressure was going up, I had abdominal pain, constipation, and all kinds of things crazy going on with me. Because again, that was because I was going through grievance over losing my father, and also put myself in blame, thinking I was the one responsible for his death, and knowing that he did this to himself, because when he was in pain over the summer of last year, 2015, June to August, I figured the main problem why he was going through pain and being lethargic and also being inactive a lot of the time was because of he was a stone alcoholic, constantly drinking. And I've told this to my family, but well, I need to shut up talking about him now, since he's passed and gone, never see him ever again. And of course, after when he died, I made an oath not to go near anything that revolves around alcohol or such, because I know most restaurants that most adults over 21 go to, like Buffalo Wild Wings and Ruby Tuesdays, they serve beer and wine and such stuff like that. And when alcohol is involved, if there's a restaurant with alcohol as a beverage is involved, like Ruby Tuesdays, I gotta step away from that place. Fast food restaurants that have no alcohol, but although a lot of fast food restaurants, like of course like McDonald's and Wendy's and Burger King, when you go to the beverage vendor, there are options for soda than there is for juice or water. Because you see, that's another thing. Of course, I made the resolution back in my year in review video for 2015 about my resolution for 2016. And even what I posted on my personal Facebook account, that I made an oath on New Year's Day up to right now to step away from caffeine as much as possible, because I realized drinking a lot of soda, excuse me, carbonated soda is what caused my behavior to be erratic. It caused my behavior to be aggressive. It caused me to do things I would never thought I would do, because I feel like I wanted to compare caffeine to alcohol. And I can't believe, looking back at all the sodas that I've been drinking, from Dr. Pepper to Coca-Cola to Pepsi, Sierra Mist, I realized that caffeine is, well, I know it's a way to keep you motivated and keep you stable when you're concentrating. But when you don't have the caffeine in your system, then you're like all grumpy and frustrated, and even your colon can get frustrated, from what I can recall, when you don't have, the substance of caffeine in your system, especially throughout your nervous system. But actually, I guess mainly it's because, well, when I was drinking sodas, I never drunk more than like 2 or 3 different things of soda a day. And and of course, the whole what caught my attention, why I stopped drinking soda, was because the amount in terms of consumption of soda can cause heart disease. That's why I had to step far away from anywhere with carbonated sodas. But they're going to sell them here anywhere anyway. Like whenever you have a can of soda or a 2-liter bottle of soda or so, and then you see that, and it's like, And then, of course, caffeine does cause anxiety, so that's why I stepped far away from anxiety. Excuse me. I know my speech is messing up in this response video, but step away from caffeine as much as possible. And I figured that's why caffeine was making me get aggressive and violent. So I had to step far away from it, direly possible. I made the oath to step away from, every once in a while have fast food like McDonald's, but not all the time, because I feel that what's the point of me having fast food, and it's best off go to a grocery store like Food Lion or Safeway and pick up, food that I really need for breakfast, lunch, and dinner, or sometimes for a snack, like, fruits and vegetables like apples and, carrots and broccoli and lemons and oranges and stuff, or watermelon slices, or pick up breakfast items like, Pop-Tarts or bacon, eggs, bagels, English muffins, stuff like that. And then, lunch and dinner items like lunch meat, like, bologna and salmon and whatever. So, yeah. I don't mean to go in full detail with you, my friend, about what I've been going through, and also going through a anti-anxiety diet where I have to step away from it. Even also, I have to reduce my intake of sugared processed foods, like, frozen foods and junk foods like potato chips and cupcakes. I needed to step far away from that, even from this point on right now. So that's one of my updates that I've been going through, even with some of the recent videos I've been posting lately. And all I've been drinking was nothing but water, because water is good for all of us. I mean, if you drink anything outside of water, then you're just going to be left dehydrated the whole day until you end up having, kidney problems, intestinal problems, and blah, whatever I've heard and what I've read off, medical websites. And, yeah, because I know this sounds off topic, but this is what I've been doing lately since the aftermath of posting the video I posted, and then also, the response video I posted, and then going through all that, catastrophe, the many catastrophes, the restraining order, father loss, then going in and out of the hospital because of anxiety disorder, and panic attacks, and then recklessly spending money, and then going through financial issues like rent and bills, and the moving. Yeah, that was just crazy. And of course, with what I'm doing right now is also going through job searching, hunting until I find one, until I eventually will find a job that will keep me stable from being, anxious all the damn time. So that's why I had to step away from PRLostGalaxy2014 for a while, and it was something I needed to do, because I just couldn't put up with the pain. I just couldn't put up with all the crazy shit that was happening. And, and also, yes, he also mentioned about stress. And, of course, stress is not good, and it's not good for anyone, really, including me. And I'm not the only one who has stress. People who... Maybe it's because, well, when you have stress, that comes from when you overwork yourself too much. Whenever if you're working on the computer too long, or when you're out working at a place too long, and then you got so much stuff to fill in your hands, well, it's because you have to, in order for you to keep, benefits for, money and such for your home and your own self and family going and stuff, medical benefits and financial benefits for loans and rent and things, mortgage, and also money for you to use to get what you need, like food and clothes and stuff. So yeah, because I also went through a bunch of stress, and I know stress can make people cause have weight gain and then have diabetes and then heart problems and lung problems, cognitive problems, because it's really excruciating and it's crippling. Because I never been through this kind of stress. Well, I when I was talking about my time being in high school, and then when I left, and after high school, I was going through some adjustment, disorder problems too. So basically, the whole losing my father wasn't the first time I started undergoing adjustment disorder. It was mainly it was at first when I left high school, because once you leave high school, you don't go back ever. You move on to your future, and I know I've lingered on about my 12th grade year, which was that's why I had to stop talking about that all the time in videos, because it caused some people to get their grabbing attention why I said this about them and that, and that's why I no longer talk about them or the school at all ever anymore. That was another crippling thing. And then also searching for a job was difficult within the last 5 years. Actually, I just never made any effort because I was busy still doing my Power Rangers Lost Galaxy Fan-Film and stuff, and talking about Power Rangers and sometimes Sentai. I have been talking about movies, and I haven't did any playthroughs on this channel, but I will eventually. It's just I just got too much stuff to fill to do, so that's why I needed to take so many breaks. Because I needed to take a bigger break than I did 2 years ago, because in 2014, actually no, you didn't, because you wasn't a subscriber then, because by that time I still had about like 100 or 200 some subscribers at the time, and I was going through some problems too back in 2014, because I know back in 2014 when I was season 2, because if the channel has the year of the past year of 2014, because reason why 2014 was up there, because I was doing a fan film of Power Rangers Lost Galaxy slated for 2014, because while Super Megaforce was going on, I wanted to release that film in 2014 to honor Lost Galaxy's 50th anniversary. But of course, the film wasn't great. I mean, it wasn't the best of my efforts, but I should have been proud that I worked on it, but put some effort to it, even though regardless how bad it was, because of the whole paper puppet stuff. And I know most people didn't want to respond or make a video response about why do I make fan films of Power Rangers with puppets rather than having live actors with, in costume. And I've stated this many times since the beginning of the channel's inception, over and over, but Scisgs, I know you never seen most of my videos regarding the fan film, because I know it's not relevant to you, but I understand that point. But when I started the channel in 2012, I was trying to make way where I was coming from within the Power Rangers community. And actually, I never even went anywhere. I was always a whisper in the wind kind of Power Rangers community member, or someone of the casual. I'm not a casual fan or anything, or super fan or so. I'm just middle in between. I mean, sure, I've watched every season of Power Rangers except for Operation Overdrive and RPM, and half and half with Samurai and Wild Force. But I just yeah, I can just after watching every season of Power Rangers, I just be so biased whether what season is my favorite, which is my least favorite, which is my worst, which is the in between, because I've always been, again, such a whisper in the shadow when I started being part of the community, because I was kind of like this. I was kind of like Linkara from over 6 years ago, but last year was over 5 years since 2010 when he opened up to the Power Rangers fandom. When he began the year where he began his history of Power Rangers in 2010. I started wanting to engage within the Power Rangers community via internet in 2010, the same time Linkara did, but I'm not part of the guy with the glasses or atop the fourth wall. I'm just my own individual who worships and passionate about Power Rangers. Of course, like over 6 years ago in 2010, when Power Rangers was no longer on the air at the time, and then hearing about Saban buying the rights back from Disney because the god awful revision in NPR occurred. I wanted to open up the Power Rangers again because after skipping half of the Disney era because I didn't like the things that was going on after Dino Thunder, but knowing regardless, SPD and Mystic Force, SPD was a great series. Mystic Force was so-so. Overdrive is hated. Jungle Fury was so-so, but at least better than Overdrive to a degree. And RPM is definitely one of the most hailed, most acclaimed seasons of the Disney era, and possibly Power Rangers as a whole. I just didn't really care what, at that time, caring for what Disney was doing with Power Rangers. That's why I left the fandom sometime around late Dino Thunder, early SPD. Well, this was back in the time when I didn't have YouTube because I was still in middle school, early high school at the time, or had Facebook or Twitter. And well, Instagram didn't exist until 2011 from what I recalled. So or even been a member on Ranger Board because again, I was still I was still going to school, middle and high school respectively during those times when SPD to RPM was taking place. And then by the time when I was leaving high school, then Power Ranger Samurai occurred. And then after high school, Super Samurai, Megaforce, Super Megaforce, and now Dino Charge and Dino Supercharge occurred. And then, of course, and then many long after high school, then, of course, Super Megaforce came along. And I'm like, I thought this is going to be awesome and everything. And then, of course, Dino Charge, for the first 10 episodes, I was really enjoying Dino Charge until something in the family occurred. And, of course, that being my father. And I've already stated my piece. And because I know I can't keep talking about him anymore. Once he was gone, then it was time for me to cease and hush up about it. Of course, I never talked about this stuff when regarding my reflections on why my mother died from breast cancer. I didn't want to talk about it because I just hate it when some people just, especially like within Power Rangers. It seems like, of course, most seasons of Power Rangers, heroes and villains who have fathers, it seems like the mothers are not as significant, just like in reality. I mean, what's the purpose of being, considering mothers like they're so insignificant to the life of a child when the father, it seems, the more significant because the father is there to raise the child while the mother was there to co-raise, but at the same time gave birth to the child. But yet after when the mother gives birth to the child, it's like, and then many years as soon as when the kid turns, around early childhood after infancy, pre-kindergarten, first grade age, then all of a sudden it's like, and then, or even a little earlier, or even any time of the child's life through childhood and late childhood, preteen, then, or even around teenager, then all of a sudden, it's like the mother is no significant, even if it's like, like in Power Rangers that we've went through, like within Time Force between Wes and his father, like in Mighty Morphin with Rita and Rito and Master Vile, or like Lost Galaxy with Scorpius and Trakina, or Time Force again with Ransik and Nadira. Well, actually, Ransik and Nadira got along well as father and daughter, though, but unlike in Lost Galaxy with, Trakina and Scorpius. But again, in reality, compared to Power Rangers, I sort of, I'll talk about that in a future podcast about the whole reflections of what Power Ranger villain, regardless gender bent, am I related to with that issue. But I know exactly who, so wait until that podcast eventually later. Sometime, who knows. Yeah, I know I can't be switching topics about that. Yeah, and again, the stress. Lately, most of my days now, when I'm on YouTube or so, I don't even have nothing. You see, one of my family members told me when we moved into our new place that if I'm in the place, I can't be, if I'm just having one electronic on, like the computer I'm using, like I use on a daily basis, I can't have more than one thing running because that brings the electric bills, rate to go up for about $700 or so worth of electricity being used and disk conserved. Because one of my aunts told me about, if I have the TV in the background to distract myself, escape from reality, if I got the computer running on YouTube or whatever, that's going to run too much electric juice to the electric bill, and I have to pay for it. So that's why, like what you said in your video, but I just can't have the TV or whatever running in the background or the radio running in the background while I'm using one big electronic like the computer, and then I look at the electric bill and whatever, and then the bill's price is the bill's rate for a month after month is so high. So it's best to just stick to one electronic to conserve energy from the electric bill, and that's it. So, and then also when you said about me having cable, I do have a TV, but when I moved to my apartment, actually longer before that, when I was in my old house, my old place, I had TV. I used to watch TV a lot to escape from reality. Regardless, I've been forced to, by many to, seek a job, and I need to get out and do something more important for myself, like getting Social Security going, and then also, food stamps and whatever. And I was like, I didn't want to do those stuff because I understand reality. I mean, once your mind is plugged into reality, it's like hard for you to escape from it. So the only way you have to escape from reality, of course, is go on the internet, for your own free time, or online shop for your free time on eBay, or watch stuff on the internet like on YouTube or on Crackle, or some small videos you can find on Instagram and Facebook, or post your pieces of art and stuff on DeviantArt, or anything, So, but in the mindset I'm in right now, I've pretty much in the reality mindset now than I am with fantasy. And it's just, of course, I can't, spend my time on anything like including YouTube and my Power Rangers Lost Galaxy fan films and stuff now, because I am being pushed to find, get a job, make money for myself, because if I don't pay off mortgage and if I don't pay off rent and stuff for the apartment I'm in right now, then I'm going to end up losing the apartment and end up in the streets. So this is why I got to get a job and make money and pay, get what I need, like food and clothes and such again. So and about the TV, I didn't have cable like Dish. I had satellite, and that being DirecTV. And I have been a DirecTV member since 2001, and that's been like now as of this year 15 years. When I moved into the apartment I'm in right now, we couldn't afford DirecTV, so that's why I had to rely on actually I just didn't had any streaming TV, because when we moved in, Wi-Fi wasn't available where I was at the time, because it's just, well, and of course I do have internet, so, but when I started moving into the apartment, I didn't have internet. That's why I had to rely going to my hometown's public library and use their computers. But when you go into a public library and use their computer, any of their computers, you have to be there. You can only use it for an hour, and don't use it for longer than an hour or so, because otherwise then they're going to tell you to get off. And yeah, so I know my ramble to you was a little long, but I just needed to give you a little update and rebuttaling of what you said in the video, your video about me regarding my response to Linkara's history of Power Rangers on Super Megaforce. And I thank you for that. And of course, some of the points you said, I had to agree on what you said, but I'm not going to repeat it like I do with most of my Linkara responses. So there you go. So I would like to thank you for hearing my response to you, and I know I know I haven't watched any of your videos neither, but you are a great YouTuber. I know you're passionate about Power Rangers as much as anyone, like me and whoever is around does, and I hope you get a response from me back eventually, since I'm in a calm state of mind, not doing the yelling and the screaming like I was for the last two some years. So, but anyway, and also tell me what you guys think of my response to You know this YouTuber, Scisgs. You know, it'll take time for me to reply his name again. And of course, the Jonathan Zacher. Well, I finally got his last name pronounced right instead of the way how I said it, and like what he said. You know, to correct me about that, about Jonathan Zacher with his last name, how I pronounced it in my self-entitled response video to him back in November. So, but anyway, Anthony Mars Jr. on PRLostGalaxy2014. Thanks for listening to my my latest video response. I know this was the first video response I did within 2 years since my response to Justin Goretz from October, November of 2014. And I know I have not did a response to someone outside of Linkara or Rick the barkeep of the Onyx Tavern since. So, tell me what you think about the response video, and let me know what you guys think. Thanks for watching.